We're happy today to have Reverend Jason Bense with us from the Lutheran Church, and we appreciate him taking time to visit with us. Welcome.
Thank you.
Will you tell us a little bit about where you were born and raised and where you grew up and high school and some of those things that we might know more about you?
Yeah, I'm not a native Californian. I've only been in Sacramento for a year and a half now, serving as pastor of the Lutheran Church of Our Redeemer here in Sacramento. I'm a native Hoosier from Indiana, born and raised in Columbus, Indiana, well known for its architecture, and went to college there and studied, and my family is still back in the Hoosier state.
Your parents are still living, you have brothers and sisters?
One brother, yes, two nephews, and got to talk to them yesterday for Easter a little bit, and look forward to going back to visit in June. So.
Wonderful. Yeah. How long have you been in Sacramento?
I was ordained October of 2009, so right at 1 year, 6 months, a year and a half, now that I've been serving here in the Lutheran Church.
Now, what does it take to find a pulpit? Once you've gone to be educated and you're ordained, how do you find a pulpit?
Right. I'm serving in my first call out of seminary. And the assignment process in first call in the Lutheran Church is determined through the Conference of Bishops. And so I was assigned a region of the country, and then regions assigned synods, and within synods, congregations, and then ultimately one congregation does a vote and calls me as their pastor. Hopefully God and the Holy Spirit are working through that process and the discernment of the people of God where I'm to be called and serve, and trust that it's God's will that I'm called to Sacramento, California.
How old were you when you decided you wanted to pursue the clergy?
7th grade.
What unfolded there?
I was actually involved in a number of speech competitions through Optimist Oratorical and other things, and it was largely through that process, but also the encouragement of many people in the church, teachers, mentors, for me to consider the ministry at the time. But I really revered my own pastor, saw my pastor as a role model, valued their work, had a sense of mystery and awe about the church and the sacraments, and had a desire to understand more, to learn more. And I really reveled in the notion of public oratory, of being able to communicate with other people from a public position in that way. And so I began to pursue what it might mean to serve the church as a pastor, and felt that was my calling from a somewhat early age.
Then you were raised in a religious home?
Indeed, yes. My family is still very active in the church, serving in almost any capacity of the Lutheran Church that they could. We mowed the lawn as a child, planted flowers regularly, sweep the floors, took breaks from summer vacation to serve as a camp counselor or wash desk in the church, whatever task I could find, or our family found opportunities to serve the church, we would.
Service is a wonderful thing. Did you bring from Indiana to California your hobbies and those things that cause you to be able to relax and enjoy life, or have you picked up new things since you came to California?
I took a few with me. I love to run, and I still get opportunities to run. I've yet to sign up for CIM, the California International Marathon, but I have done lengthy runs before in other cities, including marathons. And I do enjoy running along the American and Sacramento rivers, and I find opportunities for that. My newest hobby to pick up while in Sacramento is golf. I've been to the driving range a couple of times, and practicing for some 9 holes and 18 holes, and slowly learning that as a new hobby. But yeah, Sacramento has a great amount to offer, and I enjoy exploring the museum here. My past work is somewhat in museums throughout college, and even in junior high school as a gallery attendant or prepared or hanging artwork, and appreciate what the Crocker has to offer, and I enjoy using the gym and getting to meet other people in the different social activities of Sacramento.
Thank you. Let me mention about golf. I took up golf when I was 12, and a neighbor man took myself and his son, who was my best friend, to learn to play golf. And the first day or two he said to me, "Now remember, you'll never master this game, no matter how hard you try. And it's imperative that you remain religious, even though you're a golfer." So I pass that advice along a little bit, that we do that. Now, what's entailed with being ordained and becoming a minister besides receiving the approval to do that and moving somewhere?
Right. Well, of course, a major doctrine of Martin Luther and the Lutheran Church is the priesthood of all believers, and strongly believing from Luther's somewhat exaggerated teaching that anyone who's gone through the waters of holy baptism is already an ordained pope, priest, and bishop. He said that we became little Christ or Christians in our baptism, and so were called and fully commissioned in our baptism to proclaim the good news of Christ, to be ministers in the world by our baptism. The specific office of pastor, or a calling to word and sacrament ministry, is set aside for the sake of order in the church, so that the function of the church can be carried out, so that there is ministry that's effectively done on a regular basis, and that there's some oversight to the ministry. So there are fairly advanced steps in place for the sake of order and allowing for ministry to happen. We have a 4-year Master's of Divinity degree that's required after college. And with that, certification of the church through its candidacy committees, including clinical pastoral education, mostly in a hospital setting, field work, vicarage and internship assignments, and along the way, various encouragements or directions through the candidacy committees of the church. Part of that is psychological evaluations, a realization of one's gifts and abilities, recommendations of others in the church to really see where your calling is and understand how your gifts can best be utilized for the sake of the larger church. Word and Sacrament is one of those callings and is an ordained ministry for the sake of those sacraments to be rightly administered.
Now, I've been to a worship service that you conducted, and I was pleased to be there. And your congregation appears to be pleased to have you there. They look to be a little older congregation. Would that be correct, or not necessarily?
We have a variety of age range. We do have 7 confirmads, sort of in the teenage range there, and we range in age to folks in their 90s as well. We are located in the Carmichael area, which I understand is somewhat statistically grounded in being a more advanced elderly congregation of retired population, and I think in some ways we do reflect that demographic. We have a variety of ages. Definitely could be open more to the 20s and 30s age range, and that may be a priority for the larger mainline churches that's missing at this point, of how to reach that age gap of a younger population just out of college or forming their careers. It seems to be missing from the church, and would love to be able to find ways to connect with that generation.
Does it seem to you that fewer parents are taking their children to church?
We are not living in the heyday of the church of the 50s and 60s. It was a time when the culture supported the church and the church supported the culture. The church was at the center of the culture. And so to be a good citizen, you raised your children by ensuring they went to Sunday school regularly or attending worship. That is not the culture we live in, especially on the West Coast, and especially in 2011. Today, the church is on the outside of the culture. You're almost seen as odd or peculiar to be involved in the religion of the church in some fashion. I somewhat like being an outsider myself. I like to have that area to challenge the culture, but it definitely poses some challenges on how to maintain an institution that was at one time at the center of the culture. And I think part of that is a remaking of the institution, finding creative strategies and also flexibility for new ministry opportunities.
What does your congregation focus on, would you say, as far as a religious group?
Predominant focus of the congregation. We have been known in the community, and fairly our main vocal piece has been since 1988 a strong welcome to the gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender sexual minorities, and are known in the Lutheran Church for making advanced early steps to support sexual minorities in their ministry and life in the world. We also have major focus right now of doing social outreach and ministry. We have had multiple homeless outreach, made some kits to hand out, for, participated in the One Day to Prevent Homelessness in Sacramento. We have many partnerships that we share on our campus of the church with various ethnic minorities and various other language churches. We have a Korean congregation, Portuguese and Russian, and find some joint opportunities to coordinate and shared mission together as well. We utilize our space and feel an important part of our ministry of reaching out to various support groups, Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Debtors Anonymous, Overeaters Anonymous are all regulars on our campus of which we support. We also partner with the Mission Oaks Park Department to offer a preschool ministry, and also partner with our neighbors, the Mission Avenue School, and definitely support public education, and early education of children is a priority of many in the congregation. We're hoping ahead, we're looking at some visions of community gardening and partnering with other Lutherans in the area, of already pioneers in that. And this summer beginning a 6-week pilot program of English as a second language and connecting with a large refugee population that is in our area.
Now, I know that you're a chaplain at a hospital or hospitals, and you and I have talked in the past about giving service at the jails and those kinds of things. Can you address that a little further?
Yeah, I volunteer as a chaplain through the Sutter system. The training through that allowed me, from my seminary education, to be certified in clinical pastoral education with a unit in that, and feel like it's a privilege and honor of any and every hospital room I get to enter, to encounter someone and hear their story, begin to understand where they are. Just this morning, visiting with folks on the floor and realizing that we have a fairly vulnerable population in downtown Sacramento, transient, homeless population with a lot of chronic illnesses that are hard to treat when you don't have access to regular place to sleep and regular food or water to drink as much to take your medications. And I look forward to opportunities to connect with the jail as well, as we mentioned, for chaplaincy ministry there as well.
What's the biggest difference between ministering to your congregation and serving as a chaplain at a hospital or a jail?